Welcome to Dental Unscripted. Where Mike Dinsio and Paula Quinn break down the practice ownership journey, one episode at a time. Starting up, buying, and running a successful dental practice.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dental Unscripted. We are doing some marketing series pods today, and I'm excited about this one because it's a topic that comes up quite a bit, and it's really like, how much money do we spend in marketing, and how do we slice up that budget? So if we had a bazillion dollars, does it go to SEO? Does it go to mailers? Does it go to events? Should I get one of those big blow up dinosaurs that waves in the air? I mean, where do we put our money, right? And so that's what today's topic is. I'm excited about introducing our guest and specialist today. But Paula, how you doing today? You doing all right? I'm feeling good. You feeling good? You're in it to win it today.
I am.
It's podcast day, so thanks for always, just being you, Paula. Just thanks for just being you. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Guido Tebano with Market My Market is our marketing specialist today. And Guido and I debate on this quite a bit, because not in a bad way, in a good way. It's like, how much money needs to go to each one of these things to be successful. And it's so hard for startups because they have no money. They just went through a project that cost them $1 bazillion, and it's like, how much is left? Well, nothing. And my job is
patience.
Exactly. It's a beautiful office, but now there's no patience. So that defeated the entire thing. But we do have a CBCT, so I'm glad we got that, guys. Thanks. I mean, that's always the conversation is I want a milling machine, I want CBC scanner, and I'm like, do you want any
laser, all the bells,
all the stuff,
right?
And then I'm like, do you want some patience? Oh, okay, that's good. So Guido with Market My Market, Guido, tell us a little bit about your company, and then we will dive right into this idea of budget and how we allocate funds.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have been around for over a decade. We're a dental marketing company at this point. But we started out in legal, which is like ultra competitive and kind of keeps us on our toes here. Because when you deal with like lawyers versus dentists, like, the budgets are a lot bigger. They're not as super, hyper focused like you are with dental. But it all kind of starts with these demographic studies we put together. So we have another business that optimizes Google Maps for like franchises and service industries. And I always say, like, dental is a service industry. All the ads that we run is not going to make someone go to a dentist. It just doesn't work like that. You're either in pain or you need to go, and that's the driving factor in that market. So you really need to know, like, really, again, first, who you are, what you do, and who you want to target versus what's in that community, who you're going to be able to get in front of, and is that even possible? And they have to like match up for a very successful office. Because again, it's either they're out there searching and you have the ability to capture them, or they're just not in that market, and it's not going to happen no matter what we do. So
that makes sense. I mean, we did an episode about demographics. Check it out, and it's really tying that those demographics to the actual marketing strategy and how to bridge that gap. I think that's super important. Check that episode out. But today's about budget. So I will throw out to you, Guido, that I would say my goal is for these docs to have about 30 grand to spend. That's traditionally the budget for a startup. Now, what I tell them is I want you to have 50 to spend in your first year. So it's somewhere between 30 to 50. And usually it comes down to how much money do we have left from the project, and how much money do you have in your personal bank account to subsidize this. And it always comes down to that. And so, I know that the whole entire world of marketing has shifted, in my opinion, where traditional marketing of pay-per-click and Facebook ads and mailers and all the things was the kind of the strategy before, and now with all of the AI stuff going on, it's kind of all about SEO. There's been this shift in the last, call it, year. And so I battle internally of how much dollars do we spend on SEO, knowing that it takes 6 months to pick up. But here, the poor startup is starving for 6 months. That doesn't work either. So there has to
Yes.
be some kind of balance between investing in SEO, but also getting some freaking patients your first month. How
Yeah.
do we do this? How do we look at this?
So
SEO
I
versus
think it comes down to one thing you said, right? Is that, again, it comes down to your market and what your marketing budget is. Obviously, marketing in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia or parts of Utah is going to be a lot more like cost effective, and you're going to get more for your money than in like, downtown Chicago or New York City, right? Because it's more competitive, leads cost more, you have to do more to compete. So that is the first thing we look at. Like budgets, you can't have a cookie cutter marketing budget for everyone that's the same. Second thing is it comes down to the doctor. A lot of times on a startup, you have to work, a certain amount of time in another office. So you're going to be here part-time, right? So you have to kind of ramp that up. Now we do get doctors that are like, I'm going full out, and like they can't, like you said, sit around waiting for patients when they open, when they're not working another job. So I have to be more aggressive there. So obviously I need more of a budget.
Yeah.
But I think there's this thing, and we see it too, where it's like, you build this beautiful office and they will come, and it doesn't work like that anymore.
No, I always say it's the field of dreams. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not the field of
No.
dreams, bro. Kevin
And on that
Costner,
note,
Kevin Costner is not coming out of the freaking cornfield to play baseball. It's not happening. It's not okay. Is that
no.
too
And
old?
with Paula too, with the insurance, it's not just because you take insurance anymore, they're going to come, because no one is going to those sites and saying who's in network. They're still doing a search like, I am looking for a Delta dentist who is in network with whatever, and you need to show up. And it's not also anymore that you just put up a site and Google indexes it and crawls it. You have to do some work to get it to show too, and it takes a little bit of time. On average, for a dental site to start ranking from when you build it, depending on the market, is probably going to take about 4 to 8 weeks. So that means
wait. Say that again. You're so fast, Guido. You're so fast. You said so much information can happen. It's
right.
4
so
to
by the
8
time
weeks.
you build a website, right? Because again, it's not like years ago where you just built a website and it kind of sits on these platforms, whether it's Bing or Google. Like, work has to be done. It has to index pages. It has to like get crawled. It takes time. And sometimes you have to manually push that. It doesn't happen automatically where Google will like find it on its own. Or now we have ChatGPT or these other search engines too, right? So
Right.
it takes on average about 4 to 8 weeks for like the needle to even start moving with organic. Let's call it organic, not SEO, because SEO is just a like broad thrown around term, right?
Okay.
Now, what does that mean? It means that you shouldn't wait till the very end to build your website. It means that once your loan closes, you should build that website. And good websites don't go up overnight, because you have to create unique content that ranks. You have to have content that's, sort of story branded to your office too, and you don't look like a DSO. Right. Also, it's hard to have new photos until you're open. So we have to play around with stock photos to start, which is not always good. But again, we want to start about 6 months before you open.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case. Like I said, a year ago, I mean, it was the case, but there just seems to be more of an emphasis around organic marketing now. And by the way, you keep talking about the cost of marketing in a new patient. What are those statistics? I have mine. I'm curious what yours are. So this idea of organic marketing instead of SEO, organic versus direct marketing, what are those costs for per patient acquisition historically, long run, average?
So everything is in a mismatch right now, I'm going to tell you. So whatever was there, like literally in the past 90 days, is just a totally different frontier. You have Apple Maps that's going to start running paid, that's going to compete with the Google business profile for leaving reviews, right? There's so many different forms of paid now, from local service ads to Google paid to Meta paid. So it all, again, depends on the market. And that's what the main takeaway from this should be. Don't compare yourself to the national average, or even to people that are open in like an area like, I don't know, Orlando, because there's different parts of Orlando and some are going to be more competitive than others. It really has to be, what is a cost per lead cost in your granular market, which you can see You can literally see that, and that's where the marketing budget should come from. So yes, we know banks have to give a standard U2. Usually, it's around that market that you said, that 30 to 35K. Websites should cost anywhere between 5 and 6,000, 7,000 for a good website that's gonna rank. That's your property, not leased to you. Like some marketing companies can put it up in a couple weeks, and they literally lease the site to you. You don't own it. That's a problem. So, but when it comes to actually like what you should do to generate a new patient, right? There's data that's there. You can look at a cost per click, let's say, in sort of a regular generic marketing. Again, it's not cost per click, right? Because a click just means that someone's clicking on your ad. That's not a conversion, right?
Yeah.
Some markets where it's not as competitive, you're going to get a lot more for your money. So, and again, it's not arbitrarily picking a number either, like a lot of companies do, where they're like, pick the $500 package, pick the $1,000 package, pick the $1,500 package.
Well, I've heard $300 to $200 to $300 per patient for just marketing in general. And then I've heard $50 per patient for more organic. Those are kind of the numbers that I've heard a few times. And I also think it's interesting that...
Are we going to ask if they're right?
Well, I'm going to, but I think it's also interesting that ZocDoc and OpenCare come in at about $300 to $350 per patient. So where are we at with those numbers?
It's super high. Well, first of all, let's talk about ZocDoc, because ZocDoc is a directory, right? Directories are great because they have a lot of authority and a lot of traction. So when your website links to them, it raises your authority on a higher level, which is what you want, because higher authority sites are how ChatGPT or Google or Bing picks what to show. There's not some arbitrary way like why they show one above another when you're like, I'm so much better than this office. You may be a better doctor, but on a digital presence, they're better than you because they're following the rules. Okay. Directories are good to be in. They're not good to use them because you can do something for like a fraction of them. Like, so if they're charging you $300, all they're doing are running paid branded ads where they're probably paying about $30 for that lead and charging you $300. So what costs $300 for a lead? Probably a dental implant, which is very competitive. So this is a very good thing because everybody wants to do implants, right? And it's a numbers game. Okay. So if a good lead, and again, this changes depending on the market, costs $300 for a lead, not a click. Maybe a click is between $12 and $25. You're just getting a click, but you're only converting maybe 10 to 20% of those clicks to a lead. Now those leads have a closing ratio too. And depending on the platform where they come from, there's better quality. Google tends to have better quality leads for implants as opposed to Meta, where you get tire kickers and it's more visual, right? But it might be better for pediatrics in some markets. But we've noticed that Meta doesn't have the best conversions. And this is across all markets, right?
Interesting.
So that means that if you give me $3,000 and it's $300 a lead, I'm going to get you 10 implant leads. If you're only going to close 20% of that, right? For that $3,000, and let's say you get $5,000 for an implant because it's easy, you just made 10,000. So your investment was 3, you made 10. It's an okay ROI. Okay. But it takes time to build data to understand where they're coming from and how the conversions are going to get better. So
that's interesting.
Going back to what you said for budgets, you giving me a GP versus a pediatric versus a cosmetic, 3 types, 3 different budgets.
Yeah.
So
interesting. Well, the numbers that you were just throwing out reminded me of my next type of form of marketing, and that is mailers. Do they work? Because what you just said was, okay, we're fishing for big cases. We're talking about implants, and it's the exact same thing. You throw $5,000, 2,500 per drop seems to be kind of a nice average. 5,000 mailers. There's usually like a 1 to 2% actual lead to the 5,000. That's how many calls. A 1 to 2% response rate, they call it. And then it's the conversion rate. So I'm seeing like a more expensive cost per patient on mailers, but do they work? Paula, I know you see patients in your practice. You don't see patients in your practice. You don't own your practice anymore. But when you owned, you fought me on mailers for a long time. And when you did it,
you always tell us, I don't think it was a fight. you always tell it like we got in this big argument and you were right and I was wrong. I don't like that conversation. We got to find a different way to spin this.
Spin it, Paula. Go.
I felt like after you wanted me to keep doing it, not the initial drop. I feel like what I didn't do is do my due diligence, which I would like to save for a different episode, but I just didn't see, and it was a feeling, right? I was like, I'm not getting very many patients off this. I don't want to do it anymore.
Got it.
Correct?
Yes, exactly. Guido, do you see that mailers work?
It depends on the market, okay? And it depends on what the mailer says. So let's take a step back to demographics, right? So if you are doing cosmetics and implants and you're targeting an older audience, they are probably not on digital. A mailer is going to work really well. But you have to make sure that you target, again, the right people for that mailer. If you take a lot of insurance and you're happy with volume, a mailer is also going to work with a low price point for an initial visit for a startup. But that might not be the best plan for you long-term if you really don't want to take clients like that. So they work, but the messaging has to be correct and the demographics in the market have to match up with that, right? So it has to be like a three or four different things that like sort of are on the checkbox when you're doing that startup and you're talking to them and analyzing like, who is this dentist and what they want to do, right? Mm-hmm. So again, it's all about the market because in some rural areas, they're going to work great. They're absolutely going to work great. So
I'll never forget. I went all in on mailers on an Alaska doctor once. And I'm like, this is going to be amazing. They're going to get off the boats, like the fish boats. And I kind of consider like those Alaska people, just good old salt of the earth people that just, it's not New York City. That's for sure. And she threw out mailers and it was the worst response ever. That was the last time that I said, this is definitely going to work. How do we know? I mean, do you have an answer here? How do you know? Maybe you don't. I mean, I don't think you guys actually facilitate mailers, but how do you know?
So we do the demographic reports. And we slice and dice the data, but it comes from a really in-deep discovery call with the doctor and who they are and what the practice looks like and working with consultants like you, right? That like you're sort of getting us the vision of what that looks like, right? So let me tell you something else that we're not talking about too. A mailer is just a mailer. They're still going to do a Google search or some sort of search on you anyway. And if you're a startup and you don't have any reviews or any juice backing you that like you're even decent, they're still not going to call you even from that mailer. Before you start doing stuff,
don't you think the call to action on there is a big deal? Like if it's, you can't just. It does. Some people will just put on there like I do Invisalign, and it's like that's all pretty, but like,
what does that mean?
We talked about it earlier. I either want a new patient special, right? Like something like you want it to be really, I feel like honed in.
Here's where the visuals matter, and I don't want to see stock photos, right? So if you're doing an Invisalign campaign, what am I looking for as a consumer? Number one, I want to see that you made someone's smile look really good, and I want to see me, so I don't want to see the same, typical blonde girl flipping her hair with like really nice white teeth. If like you're targeting older people or teens, like you have to show real photos that matter. Number two, I really don't care if you charge between $5,000 and $7,000. You know what I'm looking for as a parent or an adult? I probably want 0% financing, not even the discount, because people know that that's a gimmick too. How many times have we seen $1,000 off this? Everybody knows that you just raise your price. So what do I want to see? I want to see my monthly cost, or I want to see some sort of financing special, right? That I know that I'm going to get, because why should I go spend $7,000 with you when I could spend $0 down and it's $125 a month, which fits in my budget, and I don't have to worry about it.
But don't you think as a startup, that's risky though, because Invisalign in general, period, because you're only hitting, if you're dropping X amount of mailers, maybe 2% want Invisalign, or
you're just using this as an example. Let's say you're an ortho. That's fair. If you're a GP, right? Again, what are your calls to action, right? You're new in the neighborhood. You're seeing new patients. If you're taking insurance, that's your call to action. We take insurance because then you don't have to worry about
no insurance, no problem, right?
Right. If you don't have it, then ask us about our in-house plan starting from $20 a month or something like that. Great hours, because maybe your market share is you're in a working class area and you're open till 8 and everyone else closes at 5. So that's a good call to action. And again, you speak other languages. Like, what are the differentiators? That's what I want to see on a mailer.
That's interesting, because I think even not just with mailers, but pay-per-click campaigns, just, there's the expense of the actual medium, and then there's the promotion, right? And you have to pay for both. What's interesting is, you took it a couple different ways there, and gift cards, $5,000 off. That stuff can work. What I heard you say is make it real to the user, the payment, the we have insurance, hey, we have a no insurance option, like that. Those are real things for, I call it
Saturday hours.
Yes,
right.
I think that's really good, and I've never heard that before. That's good stuff.
And the other thing that I don't want to see is, like, I appreciate that you built a really nice office, but I'm really not picking you for your, like, again, there's exceptions, but I'm not picking you for your office. I want to see you and the staff. I'm going to see you as the dentist.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I want to see. Like, everyone shows their, like, I mean, I don't know, I'm Italian. I like a nice bathroom, but, like, I really am not picking your office based on the nice waiting room and the tiles you picked out or the millwork you have. It's like, I want to get in and out. And that's another thing too. Like, other things in areas, right? Do you have good parking? Because in some areas that sucks. Just went the other day to see a doctor. The parking was terrible. And I'm like, I got to find a new one.
And that could be a promotion just by itself. If you're in New York City and you have parking, like, that's an X factor.
Not just New York, Chicago, Atlanta. There's a million markets.
Seattle, we've had people in Seattle.
Right.
You got to pay for
totally.
We have parking. I mean,
street parking.
Ridiculous, but if you're doing pediatrics and you have a parent, I really don't feel like with my 4-year-old and 2-year-old going across, like 20 minutes to walk to the doctor's office with them screaming.
Totally.
Right.
So we had somebody do free Uber rides, which I think is great.
So that is interesting that you bring this up, because when you look, okay, so let me give you a little secret of what's going on. When you look at what that 55 and over demographic looks like for these snowbirds, Paula, you're in an area like that.
Be careful.
Mm-hmm. You're in Arizona, that you have people
but
go
I
there.
I am of age.
He is literally probably talking about
in a few years. I'm right there with you.
Uber.
We do not. First of all, we do not think we're old. Right?
I would love Uber.
Right. But I'm saying, like, the reason why I bring this up is, like, you probably are wintering somewhere else. Your kids are not there. You will spend money on cosmetic work, right? Me living in New York versus doing some cosmetic work, like an All-on-X or whatever in Florida, is, like, going to be a lot better priced, or an implant or whatever it is too. I don't know how I'm going to get to that office. Like, I don't have my kids or maybe transportation. So, like, when you look at when we pull them, what they're looking for, like, that concierge type dental service is what it is, which means extended hours and figuring out transportation. They literally have said that. So that could be, again, you have to be careful because it's medical. But if you're doing, sedation, and then you can take out, like, how they're figuring out how to get to you, that is a win in markets,
Mm-hmm. I think that's really interesting.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Okay, so just to kind of wrap up this episode on budget, I didn't hear a specific answer. So, like, and I know you're going to say you're not going to give me a specific answer. You're going to say it depends on the market. I know. No,
I'm not. I'm going to give you some general price points, right?
Okay, let's
go. Now, if you want to be competitive, if you want to hit like $1 million within your first 12 to 14 months, right? You probably need to spend in a rural market about $2,500 to $3,000, right? Let's just talk general. If you're going into a very dense area, your spend is $3,500 to $4,500, if not $5,000, at least if you're going to do implants. That's what it takes. That means we're looking at getting you 100 new patients in the first 100 days. That's a really good benchmark for a startup. It means we're trying to get you stabilized within 6 months, which means you have about 25 to 35 new patients consistently by month 6, month 8, right? So those are good baselines. But if you think you're going to do it with just the bare minimum thing you're getting from the bank, it's probably not going to happen unless you're going to take more of
Well,
you
what
know?
you just said is very doable. I would argue that number needs to be doubled if you want to hit 1 million. You said 1 million. I
Depends.
I
Depends
mean,
because you
Depends if
sell
you're
into
using
it.
Guido or a different marketing.
that's true. Okay, so there's a monthly budget. There's a monthly budget, and I liked that. I'm right at 3,500 a month, and you run that out for the whole year. I think you're going to do okay in a competitive
Right.
market. But now let's talk about percentages. And I say this because SEO, direct marketing, mail. We didn't even talk about events. Events should have some money, $500, set up a booth at
Yes.
something, whatever. So where, if it was your dental practice, Guido, you owned it.
How would I do this?
How would you slice up? And remember, you're a startup. You have no money, no patience. You're a brand new brand. How would you spend that 3,500 or percentage wise? Yep.
Number one, I'd have a killer website. I'd start 6 months before. Two, I would start making a hot list, and I'm going to go out with referral pads, which don't cost a lot. Maybe spend $200 on referral pads, and I'm going to network with everyone in that area. If I'm a GP, I'm going to think outside of the box. Who are the touch points of people that don't have dentists, right? I'm going to go to buildings with doormans. If it's in an area like that, I'm going to go to urgent care centers where someone cracks their tooth and they don't have a dentist. I'm going to look at all the opportunities that I can get in front of. Three, I'm going to join the Chamber of Commerce for like 200 and something bucks. And I'm going to go to every event that they have. And I'm going to network with other businesses too and try to see what I can do, right? This is 6 months before.
And use your membership plan to do that. Use your membership plan. Use your membership plan to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that way I don't have to. Then I'm going to take a little bit. I'm probably going to go to Costco, get cookies. I'm going to go around and I'm going to network like crazy. And I'm going to go every 4 to 6 weeks to those offices, right? I'm going to put a little money there, maybe $500 to $2,000.
You haven't spent a lot of money yet, by the way.
No, I'm good. I am going to turn everything on.
Well, this is 6 months.
Yes.
All 6 months before.
All 6 months before. I'm going to turn everything on 6 to 8 weeks before I open. I'm going to start pushing reviews to my Google profile because I can get it verified. And now Apple, I'm going to try to get at least 100 reviews in the first 100 days. When I know I have an opening date, which we know changes, I'm going to start pushing ads conservatively, maybe like 1,500 to 2,000, depending on the market. And I got to start running SEO, which is at least a couple thousand there too, because it's going to take a little bit of time for the website to run and pick that up. Long term, I don't know if I want to run paid ads. I mean, I really want to drive everything organic and with my reputation and, with like AI, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, those are better quality patients, hands down. They're not coming to you from an ad. I would use ads to bridge the gap if I want to do ortho or emergency dental stuff and things like that. Or if I want to do wisdom teeth in the summer. So that's where ads, I think, would come in. Right. And again, I would front load what I do because my marketing costs should be have an ROI on it going into the third or fourth month. So I know that I'm getting back what I spend so I can put more into investing it. So that $35K or whatever you gave me as a startup, I should have made my money back. And I'm like, I know what I'm going to invest and get out of it.
So you would front load. I love that. That was perfect. Thank you for answering specifically. Would you spend that first $30K in the first 6 months and track it and then retool? You wouldn't spread that $35K over the first year. That's what I heard.
Because then I'm making money and I can invest more. But
I agree.
The first 90 days is critical. You know that, right? It's also the hardest because you're freaking out, you're paying bills. So you got to stay cool at all times. Everything is strategy, right? You just can't rely on me or your marketing company alone. It's teamwork. Yeah. You got to have a digital presence, a community presence. You got to have everybody needs to be on the same page. Paula's going to coach you on those huddles every morning. Everyone has to be speaking the same language, right? Teams that win, you're all in sync together and it's the same thing. If I'm operating in my own little huddle here with no communication from you or feedback, how do you expect me to get you to the goals you want? I can look at only one part, which is clicks or calls, but I don't know what happens when they hit the office. So you got to tell me. You got to meet frequently. So that kind of teases up for the last part of this series, and I'm excited to do it. Thank you for being on the show, Guido, as always. And I think that was great. I think that's exactly what
doctors need to hear when they're approaching marketing, because there's so many ways to spend dollars and money. Question is how do you do it, and what market, and what strategy, and what percentage, and are you getting your ROI? And I think that all matters when you're doing a startup.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your time today. And Paula, let's shut this down and keep rolling on the next topic. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Let us know how you like the show. Rate us on Apple and Spotify. Subscribe and follow for more.